And since I'm talking about the economy, we'll keep on the serious stuff and do the weekly little Russia update. So, last time we talked about it, they had mobilized, started calling up a bunch of people. It has not been going well. As soon as they started calling people up, there's literally lines the size of Russia at like every border crossing to get out. And there's even been a bunch of people like destroying recruiting centers. They do not want to go fight in this war. And while this is going on, they're getting wombo comboed because Ukraine has had another breakthrough on one of their like offensive lines. So Russia is getting punched in the throat. Everyone told them this was going to happen and they were like, no. And now they're getting punched in the throat and we're all standing there like, hey man, we told you that was going to happen. I don't know if the mobilization is going to change a ton, but based on some videos I've seen, a lot of these guys getting mobilized are literally being handed like rusty AKs and moldy uniforms. For the second most powerful military in the world, allegedly, they really don't have any functional equipment. Russian exodus shows no signs of easing as Ukraine war looms over recruits. Confusion over who will be called up to fight has led to mass protest across the country, violence at draft offices, sold-out fights, and chaotic scenes at border crossings. There were some satellite images that I saw. I know most of you guys are listening to this on audio, so you can't see it. I don't even know if I'm going to throw the picture up, but it's a line of cars literally from the border about like 15 miles back, all of them just full of dudes trying to get out of Russia before they get mobilized. When Putin announced the mobilization, he said it was just going to be like their national reserve. People that had signed up already had some training, but they've done a very bad job at making sure everyone has training. There's been a ton of people getting called up. They're calling up like 53-year-old men. No offense to 53-year-old men, but it doesn't strike me as a very intimidating force. If me and a bunch of like the 20-year-old dudes were in a trench in a war and I looked across and everyone there was 10 years away from Social Security, I would be a lot less intimidated. I mean, it's still war, but you know your country is getting desperate if they're starting to draft like 55, 60-year-old men and people that aren't having any war experience. I saw a video of a Russian like unit commander, I'm not sure what their officer ranks are called, but it was an officer telling them that they did not have tourniquets. You know, the thing for stopping bleeding, which can be kind of important in a war. They didn't have any tourniquets to give them, so they should go buy tampons to put in bullet holes instead. Like, this was actually being said to them. It's not looking good. And while all this is going on, like I said, Ukraine has another offensive breaking through, so they've got to train these people. They're not trained yet. They can't really bust them out there. I mean, technically they could, but that would just be messed up. They have literally no military training. But a huge way Russia's been generating any leverage has been through these energy prices. Like, a lot of Europe uses Russian gas to heat their homes through the Nord Stream pipeline. And they turned it off. They lowered its capacity. They've been messing with Europe, raising energy prices to try to force them to get rid of their sanctions. And it seems like somebody has gone ahead and sabotaged those as well and attacked them and caused a leak. And I'm not gonna say that it was, the good old CIA. That would be insane. I would never accuse our government of anything like that. But everything I see says that it basically had to have been a state actor. And I don't know who really wants Nord Stream gone. It might not have been the CIA, but something similar. Someone's CIA did something. Because from the way I've had it explained, it's like a giant metal pipe in the ground encased in 8 feet around of concrete. I don't know. I don't think both of them are going to accidentally leak at the exact same day. And apparently there was a seismic scientist that picked up explosions on the Richter scale under the water at around the same time the leaks start. So I don't know what's going on, but Russia's on a bad luck streak because there goes a lot of their leverage. A lot of what they were saying to Europe was that they'll provide gas, they'll turn it back on if sanctions get dropped or if they get supported in the war. And if the pipeline's just gone, then you can't really use it to negotiate now, can ya? In other news, Russia has again insisted that it has a right to use nuclear weapons if its territory is threatened, and several suspicious leaks have hit the Nord Stream pipelines, with experts not ruling out sabotage. European officials, meanwhile, are investigating unexplained leaks affecting both Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines that bring natural gas from Russia to Europe via the Baltic Sea. Both Europe and Russia have said sabotage cannot be ruled out as the cause of the damage. But the finger of blame is being pointed at Moscow, which is yet to directly respond to the accusations. So Russia has been trying to use the nukes. They're like a kid who just unlocked a new weapon in COD and they want every reason to use it. Using nukes is always bad. No one wins in a nuclear war. Literally nobody. I like, on a serious note, really hope that this does not go nuclear, because once that cat is out of the bag, it does not go back in. Nukes are bad. We should never use them. We honestly should have just never invented them. But I think Putin getting more and more desperate is not a good thing, and the fact that they're looking for a reason to be able to use nukes should be terrifying. I don't think we're like on the edge of nuclear war. They've said they're going to use a small nuke, whatever that means, and I don't think they're going to do it. But if they did attack their own pipeline to try to use it as some sort of provocation to like increase their aggressiveness or rally support at home, that's some insane desperation. This was an absolutely massive infrastructure project. I guess if they know they're going to be cut off from Europe anyways, what's the point? But still, that would be some crazy levels of like wanting to conspiracy theory your people into supporting this war. That's like some straight up tinfoil hat stuff. The government went under the ocean and blew up their own pipelines. I'm not going to rule it out. If any country would, it's Russia. I also love that this might be something they dreamed up to try to like get public support at home. You know, someone was sitting there with Putin. All right, there's literally a line of cars like 8 miles long trying to leave because everyone finds this war so stupid. Nobody wants to fight in it. Our mobilization is going horribly. What should we do? I know, let's blow up our own infrastructure to get people on board. And then they did it, and everyone in Russia was like, I don't care about a gas pipeline. I don't know. I know gas pipelines are important, but it's not like it's serving Russians gas. Like, if the Russians are already cut off from Europe, and then the pipeline to Europe gets broken, why would the average person care at all? If anything, it just is confirming, if Russia did it, we don't really know what happened, that they're not planning on coming back to Europe. They're not planning on coming back into the system. Whatever's going on in Ukraine, they're out. Because if they're blowing up this Nord Stream pipeline, that was how they were going to make a bunch of money. That was how they were making a bunch of money off of Europe. So if they're permanently severing that, whatever permanently severed that, it's going to be a lot of money to get that repaired, and I think it might be symbolic of, like, Russia, Europe, no longer bros. The broness is over. We used to be bros until you guys just started rolling around invading people. Not really. We've only been bros for, like, 20 years. The USSR and us were not bros. Cold War II Electric Boogaloo coming soon to a theater near you. The only difference is back in the 80s we were terrified of Russia, and now we know that if we get into a war with them, they're just going to start like drafting people that don't want to be there, giving them rusty weapons and moldy uniforms and be like, hey, good luck, go get some tampons to clean your wounds. It's nuts to be in a military and not have equipment like that. Imagine you get drafted, dude. They yank you out of a target over to the Russian field office to get ready for war. Hey, we don't have sleeping bags or medical supplies, but good luck in the war zone. Get on the bus. Like, oh my goodness.